What's up, guys? So, I went ahead and picked up this kit. I've been looking at it for a while. This is the Richard Petty Race Team Dodge Dart and Car Hauler. A pretty cool 2-in-1 kit. I wanted to see how it would work out. Now, initially I thought that this car was going to be kind of the main attraction and that the truck was going to be pretty basic, kind of just acting as a base for this. Well, that just goes to show I don't know very much about this yet, because this truck was anything but basic. So the car itself was just over 100 pieces. I think it was 108 or maybe 110, something like that. And it's the first race car I've built, so it's got the full roll cage and all of that cool stuff in it. And it was a pretty detailed kit, so that was pretty surprising. This is one of the kind of classic re-releases from AMT. So everything turned out pretty well on it. I didn't really go to the lengths that I normally do to detail out and do wiring and all of that stuff. Mainly because after I unboxed this thing, I realized how big of a project it was going to be. So the car just took a couple of days. It's got a fair amount of detail to it and turned out pretty well. Of course, with it being a classic re-release AMT, the instruction sheet is, again, one piece of paper. So there was a lot of difficulties on this build getting everything to go together. A lot of fitment issues and just all kinds of little stuff. And I'm sure somebody with more experience than me probably would have had an easier time putting this thing together. But it came together pretty well and wasn't too bad. The truck, again, same thing. It had one single sheet of instructions, so that got pretty frustrating. And of course, when you're building something this big, and it is a pretty good size when you look at it compared to a regular car. There were more issues than I would have thought, but it came together really well. There are some little minor things that I had to do to make things fit, but the detail on this thing is absolutely outstanding. So if you take the time to actually put this thing together well and concentrate on your paint work and all of that stuff, it comes together pretty awesome. So we'll take a little walk around it. So we'll just go ahead and remove the hood. The hood itself, it does have the raised Ford lettering. It has the mounted blinkers and turn signals and the air cleaner and all of that cool stuff. So good amount of detail on there. On the truck itself, they did a pretty good job on this thing, I've got to say. I was impressed that they put that much work into it. So you can see the air cleaner extending off here. And again, I didn't take the time to do wiring harnesses and all that kind of stuff. I did detail out the firewall, detailing out all the wiring and stuff like that. And then the engine came out pretty well. All the hoses and everything were included, so that was a cool touch. And I did just add a little notch of detail, and I don't know if this is going to come through on camera. In fact, I highly doubt it will. But I went ahead and detailed out all of the frame bolts running all the way down the underside, which is kind of a cool little way to add some detail to it. Maybe you can see it a little bit better if I do that. So just all the frame bolts running down and the bolts around the rear axle. The underside of the truck is pretty detailed. The interior is very detailed. And again, I don't think that the interior is going to come through on camera. I probably should have done like a mid-build video on this so you could see how that comes out. But we're going to give it a try. So let's see. And I highly doubt you can see anything, but it does have the full gauge set up for all of the, there's probably 20 gauges in there. But I did take the time to outline all the gauges in silver and put all the gauge hands in there and all of that stuff. So if you take your time with it, it comes out really, really well. The issues with this build, one thing that you have to be really careful of if you do pick up this kit is the placement of the firewall. So if the mistake that I made is I glued in the firewall a little too far forward, which kept the engine from fitting correctly, kept the radiator and fan housing fitting correctly, and overall left about an 8-inch, or to scale 8-inch panel gap between the hood and the cab of the truck. Another thing is this does have a solid metal axle in the back, and that was much too long for the truck. So the tires ended up sticking out way too far from each side of the truck. But just cut that down and you're good to go. This comes with a ton of decals, so you can, detail out all of the sponsors for the race car, and it comes with little decals like you would see on a truck like this, the Goodyear logos, the tires themselves. So on the race car, they are Goodyear tires, which you can detail out with a little bit of acrylic paint. And then it does come with some spare tires, just like you would see on a hauler like this, that can sit up in the top here. And I went ahead and detailed those out there too, and kind of sanded the edges of the tires, or the tread on the tires, just to make them look a little bit more worn. It does come with a couple of extra pieces as well that are the ramps for the car. Now, I chose to go ahead and put these to the side and save them for something else, but they are there, and they do hook up to the back of the truck here if you wanted to, add a little bit more detail or create some sort of scene with this truck. But other than that, really awesome build, came together really, really well. It did take quite a bit of time just because this box is in a lot of pieces, and getting all the paintwork right and detailing out all the hinges with the silver and all the handles and all of that stuff did take a minute to get done, but it came out really, really well. I highly recommend this kit. And from what I've seen and from what I've heard, it sounds like this thing's going on sale everywhere. So you might be able to pick it up pretty cheap, just like I did. But I recommend it. Awesome build. Just set some time aside to build this thing. But again, highly recommend it. Pick it up. Thanks a lot, guys.